All right. Yeah, good afternoon. In 1917, as worldwide conflict was escalating, President Woodrow Wilson formally declared war in which the United States would join the Allies in World War I. Americans sat frozen in their homes as they listened to the announcement through their radios. Now, fast forward 24 years, in 1941, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, reported the Pearl Harbor attack as well as his declarance of war on the nation of Japan. This time, however, Americans stayed close to the nearest available televisions as they watched the president deliver his address. Since its advent in the 1920s, the television has helped shape American society in addition to document and broadcast its most historic events. Today, television is the dominant force in our society. A recent Nielsen study estimated that over 96% of households in the United States have a TV. While television was once an anomaly or a commodity, it is now a huge industry that grosses over $125 billion a year. Today, I will discuss the invention of the television, its growth and importance in the 20th century U.S. history, as well as the state of the industry today. I'll begin by discussing Philo Taylor Farnsworth and the early development of the television. Farnsworth lived in a house without electricity until he was 14. Despite this, in high school, Farnsworth began to imagine a machine that could move images and that could be coded and transformed into a picture on a screen. Farnsworth's invention was demonstrated for the first time in 1927 and is, according to Mitchell Stevens' article, History of Television, the direct ancestor of modern television. The RCA, a company that controlled the United States radio business at the time, attempted to capitalize off this invention by investing $50 million into television's development. Its first success was in 1939 when they successfully televised a speech by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The company then paid for the license to use Farnsworth's patent and began TV productions for what was then called picture tubes, which, as you can see here, were very primitive. We cannot even imagine, our generation that is, how primitive these TVs actually were. Actors had to work under extremely hot lights. They had to wear black lipstick and green makeup in order to make up for some of the TV's inadequacies. Also, the poor television quality forced the news outlets to barely even see the maps when they were projecting them to the public, and people could barely even discern their favorite newscasters at the time. All right, so next we will discuss the growth of television in today's society, as well as its involvement in social and some important events in the 20th century. The golden age of television, many call it, happened in the 1950s, where television really started getting more popular. Television started to first differ from the radio in their formats. They had shows like the Late Night Show, hosted, and then the Disneyland and the Mickey Mouse Club were shows that became popular and are still resemble some shows that are shown today. Also, the 1950s saw the beginning of television's huge political impact. No one had a more prominent role in this than John F. Kennedy. The 1960 televised debate between JFK and Richard Nixon proved to be groundbreaking. While people who were listening to the debate on radio thought that Nixon had won the debate, those who had watched the debate on television and had seen JFK's grace and charisma thought that JFK had, in fact, won the debate. And this was the first debate in which physical appearance played a large role in determining the winner. Television's coverage of the 1963 assassination of then-President JFK also provided another turning point in TV's history. On this infamous day, Americans joined in watching the horrifying coverage in their own living rooms. The coverage, which was received live, propelled TV news ahead of the newspaper, which at the time was still the most reliable source of news for most people. So lastly, we'll look at the current trends of television in today's society. Television is now, like I said, a $125 billion a year industry. So the Super Bowl was recently viewed on television by almost 42% of the population, and given the huge amount of people that now are tuned into televisions, advertisers and companies will pay huge amounts of money for advertisements during the commercials. It was estimated that a 30-second spot on NBC's Sunday Night Football last year cost over $500,000 for a 30-second spot. With this explosion, however, there have been several problems that have arisen. Um, the first comes with the fact that there are 6 major corporations that own these news outlets. And what happens here is that the ownership of a major corporation can sometimes influence the news that we are given based off the corporations themselves' interests rather than the public's interest. Second is the concern for news outlets to maintain the most possible viewers rather than maintain the most informative newscasts. The business of news makes it the top priority to keep ratings, prices, and revenues as high as possible. And because this creates incentives to increase the number of viewers and not to inform the viewers, many of these news stations are more concerned with entertaining the audience. And this has been a phenomenon called infotainment. Finally, to summarize my main points, the creation of the Philo Taylor Farnsworth imagined in his high school not so long ago has become a fixture in today's society. The once simple television that required actors to wear green makeup has evolved into something far greater. From FDR's declaration of war to the golden age of television to the JFK assassination all the way up to today, television has become the nation's main source of news and entertainment. With this evolution, there has been some problems. While Walter Cronkite was once considered America's most trustworthy man, anchors have recently been caught lying to the public. News stations now are tasked with finding the most viewers possible and providing entertainment rather than newsworthy news. Even with these problems, we should marvel at the television's history and accomplishments in its relatively brief life, for one can only imagine what its future has in store.